SpaceX has completed a 3-engine static fire test on the third iteration of its Super Heavy rocket, which is a key component in the company's interplanetary travel plans. Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. The 5th test flight of Space Exploration Technologies Corporation's newest and largest rocket resulted in a relatively perfect landing, paving the way for greater altitude excursions. At SpaceX's Starbase location in South Texas, the first real Super Heavy rocket was rolled from its high bay to a launch pad. The 230-foot-tall Super Heavy is the first stage of SpaceX's entirely reusable Starship transportation system, which the company is building to assist humanity in colonizing Mars and other missions. The upper stage is a 165-foot-tall spacecraft named Starship, whose prototype flew 6.2 miles above the ground in May. The accomplishment cleared the way for more ambitious tests of a rocket that SpaceX founder Elon Musk envisions as a future workhorse for missions to the Moon and Mars. NASA just selected SpaceX to create Starship, a moon landing technology for astronauts. The Super Heavy, known as Booster 3, will not be able to fly. It will go through ground tests to prepare it for its successor's launch on the Starship system's first orbital test flight, which might happen as soon as this summer. Starbase will be the departure point for that flight. If all goes according to plan, Booster 4 will splash down roughly 20 miles off the coast of South Texas in the Gulf of Mexico. Meanwhile, the Starship element will travel to Earth orbit and crash into the Pacific Ocean near the Hawaiian island of Kauai. Additional test flights with other Super Heavy and Starship prototypes are expected to follow in a short time. SpaceX is known for setting high goals, and Musk has stated that Starship might be fully operational by 2023 if development and testing go smoothly. The business also hopes that with rapid point-to-point flight, the stainless steel giant will be able to cut travel time across the globe. Now, let's take a look at the functioning of the Starship system. The spacecraft, called Starship, will be launched atop a Super Heavy rocket. The integrated system, known as Starship, will tower 120 meters tall. Let's start with the spacecraft. The stainless steel vehicle, with its nose cone and landing fins, looks like a rocket ship from the golden age of science fiction. 6 highly efficient Raptor engines, developed over a decade by SpaceX, are mounted at the back of the 50-meter-long craft. The engine's design reduces the quantity of propellant wasted by breaking down the combustion process into phases. The propellant tanks are located in the vehicle's center. These provide the Raptors with liquid methane and liquid oxygen. The Sabatier reaction, according to SpaceX founder Elon Musk, might be used to synthesize CH4 from Martian subterranean water and atmospheric carbon dioxide. Refueling the Starship using Martian resources for the return voyage to Earth would provide a level of self-sufficiency, making travels more viable and cost-effective. A massive payload compartment towards the front of the spacecraft, also referred to as the upper stage, will be able to transport a significant cargo or people to deep space destinations. The Starship was designed by SpaceX to be a multi-purpose, fully reusable spacecraft capable of carrying 100 tons. Starship is 160 feet tall with a 30-foot diameter and can carry as many as 100 passengers. The company is putting prototypes through their paces at a facility in southern Texas and has already completed a number of brief test flights. Starship will be totally reusable, with both the rocket and its booster capable of landing after launch and being recovered for future missions. Falcon 9 rockets from SpaceX are partially reusable. Musk admitted that he wasn't sure if Starship will reach orbit on its first attempt, but he is certain that the rocket will reach orbit in 2023. Now let's turn to the rocket. Super Heavy will be packed with 3,400 tons of cryogenic methalox that will be 70 meters long. It should be able to carry at least 100 tons of payload to lower Earth orbit and maybe as much as 150 tons. This will make Super Heavy more powerful than the massive Saturn V launcher utilized in the 1960s and 1970s for the Apollo mission to Moon. The final version will have 28 Raptor engines, but the first prototype will most likely have considerably less, and SpaceX CEO Elon Musk has revealed that it will remain grounded, as it is just designed to be used for testing things like build and transportation mechanics. This Super Heavy is known as Booster Number 3 or BN3, and it's the latest in a series of prototypes for SpaceX's Starship program, which intends to produce a fully reusable launch system for missions to the Moon, Mars and beyond. Musk stated that when asked about the possibility of more testing for the rocket, although 9 engines sounds like a lot, SpaceX already utilized as many in the first stage of each Falcon 9 rocket. During takeoff, The Falcon Heavy rocket, which consists of 3 thrusters and a top stage, fires 27 engines simultaneously. During launch, the Super Heavy plus Starship combo is planned to employ about 30 engines. Musk clearly wants to move quickly with Starship and Super Heavy, in part due to the company's ambitious goals of serving as a provider to NASA for future human lunar landing missions as part of the Artemis program, and in part due to the fact that it still plans to fly the first commercial tourist flight of a Starship in only 2 years in 2023. The Starship and Super Heavy systems will have private cabins, big social rooms, centralized storage, solar system shelters, and a viewing gallery. The goal of the mission is to collect as much data as possible so that the company can better understand what the vehicle goes through in unpredictable flying conditions that can't be repeated, and use that data to construct better models for internal simulations. So then, what about launch and refilling? The integrated Starship system will begin to tip over towards the intended orbit as it ascends from the launch pad. It will spread steel structures called grid fins from the sides of the rocket as it descends, fashioned like potato waffles. These will assist in guiding the rocket stage back to its launch pad so that it can be relaunched. SpaceX has a bold proposal to use its launch tower to catch the falling rocket. The spacecraft would dock or pair with another Starship circling the Earth that serves exclusively as a propellant depot for refuel. How does the upper stage land? Engineers have used parachutes or constructed the vehicle such that it can land on a runway to carry other spacecraft back to Earth. The upper stage of the Starship, on the other hand, adopts a different strategy. When the ship is ready to land on Earth, it enters the atmosphere at a 60-degree angle before belly flopping to the ground in a horizontal position. When will it fly? SpaceX has been testing multiple upper stage designs at its Starbase site in Boca Chica, Texas during the last 3 years. The business began in 2019 with a 39-meter-tall test piece called the Star Hopper, which resembled a water tower in appearance, and it flew to 150 meters above the ground. In December 2020, the first prototype, SN8, flew to a height of 12.5 kilometers. It belly flopped back to Earth, providing SpaceX with crucial engineering data on the vehicle's final stages of return from space. SN8, on the other hand, approached the landing pad too quickly and forcefully, causing it to crumple and explode. 3 more test objects exploded until Starship SN15 successfully landed in May 2021 with a soft landing. SpaceX is on a tight schedule to deliver an operational Starship by 2024 after gaining a multi-billion-dollar deal with NASA earlier this year to send astronauts to the moon. The Super Heavy rocket is the initial stage of the SpaceX's Starship system, which will someday return humans to the moon. Even the tiny static fire test, which is larger and heavier than everything SpaceX has launched thus far, can go tragically wrong. Fortunately, everything went as planned. Unlike rivals Branson and Bezos, Musk isn't in a rush to see SpaceX's Starship ambitions released. After all, the goal is bigger than just space tourism. It all depends on how successful and safe the Starship is at transporting passengers to space and then returning safely to the Earth to be repurposed for another launch. And that's it for today's video. We hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching.